Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another UFC fight prediction video. In this video, I'll be predicting the full card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Volkov. So without further ado, let's get to our first fight on the card. So in our first fight, we have in the lightweight division, Medeiros versus Damir Hadzovic. And I see this one right here. I think Hadzovic is a fighter that's really not great at anything. He's tough, he's durable, he can do some damage, but technically on the striking, not the greatest technical striker. Grappling, definitely nothing to write home about. Offensive wrestling, offensive jiu-jitsu, defensive jiu-jitsu. He's really just a low-tier, low-pack fighter until proven otherwise. Like, he's managed to stick around the UFC, but no real big notable wins or any real decent wins. I think his best win is against Marques, and that was when he got out-grappled and taken down pretty much easily through the first two rounds. Then when he was trying to go for a rolling leg lock, he got caught with a knee. Hadzovic caught him with a knee, so not really the most impressive track record. Medeiros has more credible wins on his resume. I think he's the faster, crisper striker. Only advantage I think Hadzovic has over Medeiros as far as striking is chin. Well, as far as durability, Medeiros' chin's kind of shaky. Like, he'll get rocked, but he has a lot of heart. He was not a guy that's gonna take one shot and go to sleep. He was a guy that's gonna get hit, go on, deer legs. I don't know, it sounds like I'm stuttering for a second, but he's rocked and going deer legs, but, be the battle through. A lot of his best wins, at least at welterweight, were like that. Like, he'll get hurt early, then rally, and then put his opponent away in a spectacular fashion. But, yeah, he has, chin's not the best, but heart's definitely there. His chin's certainly not at glass to the point he get plucked, he go to sleep. He'll get hit, get rocked, but still be in the fight. Doesn't look good for the judges, but if he's stopping you, it don't really matter if it goes to the judges or what the judges have to say if he stops the fight. But with this one, I'm gonna think Medeiros to get a decision. This one, I think he's the cleaner striker, faster, more fluid, more versatile on the feet. Grappling wise, Medeiros has solid takedown defense, and even showed against Gregor Gillespie. Gillespie had to take him down like 20 times in that fight, and Medeiros was popping back up every single time. So like one of the better wrestlers in this division, and Medeiros. The defense looked good. It's just that he didn't have much to offer Gillespie, or at least didn't have nothing to counter with Gillespie. He could defend it well for, a decent amount of time, but eventually Gillespie just was relentless. 20 takedowns? That's unheard of by most people. And Hadzovic definitely nowhere near that level of wrestling or cardio. And that's not something he could do. I think Medeiros could actually out-wrestle Hadzovic. And I think he could beat Hadzovic in every portion of this fight. I do worry about the chin. I do worry about Hadzovic's power to a degree. But I see Medeiros as being better in every area of this fight and beating Hadzovic to a decision. So in this one, I got Yancy Medeiros via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Charles Rosa versus Justin Jaynes. So this one, Rosa has I'm leaning to Justin Jaynes based off Rosa's history of, willing to give up takedowns and working up, or not have either willing to give up takedowns, spend time on bottom, or just not having the best takedown defense. So it's one or the other, or both. It depends on the situation, the scenario. But his takedown defense isn't the greatest. He has solid just off his back. He's not a guy that's easy to take down. Easy to take down and submit. Easy to take down, but not easy to, somebody go out there and just dominate him on the ground and just beat him up and attack his back and choke him out, or transit the arm bar or get him out there. He's going to be active off his back. And they get one submission off of Manny Bermudez. Though he did put his feet in the cage, supported, that's illegal these days. So there's a knock on that. But wherever the case, Rosa is a guy I see too comfortable off his back, not the best takedown defense, and he's going against Justin Jaynes. And Justin Jaynes is originally a very top-heavy, aggressive wrestler, and we'll put him on his back. I hope Justin Jaynes doesn't fall in love with his power in his hands. Clearly, he's been getting stopped and losing these fights lately, so he needs to go back to his wrestling. I think this is a fight he will go back to his wrestling, especially given that Rosa doesn't defend it the best and is willing to stay on bottom. I think he takes him down, controls the top position. I don't think he goes out there and just dominates or embarrasses him, but I think he definitely just goes out there and wins just based off takedowns and top control. So in this one, I got Justin Jaynes via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the women's bantamweight division, Julia Avila versus Julija Stoliarenko. And I see this one right here. I just flat out think Julia Avila is just an overall better fighter. Stoliarenko is good off her back for those arm bars, and has a very active guard, but Julia Avila is skilled enough, experienced enough, and privy enough to what Stoliarenko's game is. And on the feet, Avila is just a much cleaner striker. Stoliarenko's kind of a little bit sloppy, a little bit aggressive. Defense kind of lacking. And Avila just more polished, and I think she can outstrike her. Easily stuff the takedowns. As far as on ground, like, man, if she in top position, like I said, she's privy to what Stoliarenko does and probably would jump to half guard or side control and really to shut down her arm bars and be able to just win that position and win all the positions that relevant position and control the battle in this one, be the overall better fighter and get the decision victory over Stoliarenko. So in this one, I have Julia Avila via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the light heavyweight division, Marcin Prachnio versus Ike Villanueva. And how I see this one right here is Prachnio does have a penchant to, ignore himself and just walk right into punching range and walk into shots, which will give Villanueva a good shot. But outside of that, I mean, Villanueva's not no slouch either. He's a solid fighter, but is he a standout fighter or anybody to really write home about as far as this guy that could potentially go top 15, top 10, or beyond? No, he's a guy that's always going to sit out of the top 15 and really probably not even breathe on the top 15. Prachnio at least has some hope to get top 15, like small hope, but some hope. But overall, on this one, I see Prachnio, he has the skills, but his fight IQ is not really there. And at least in the round 3 fight, he shows some of that. Like he's learning. He at least has some self-preservation. And with this one, I think Prachnio is faster, more fluid, and more versatile. But Villanueva kind of leans more to just his hands, whereas Prachnio is going to let his hands and his kicks go, but more so his kicks. And I feel like he's going to be able to avoid the power of Villanueva for the most part, be more defensive-minded, batter the legs of Villanueva, touch him up top some, then slam some kicks into his sloppy body, and be able to crunch him over in that third round and get that third round TKO. So in this one, I got Marcin Prachnio via third round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Warlley Alves versus Jeremiah Wells. And how I see this one right here is, so with Wells, he's actually the older fighter coming in at 34 versus Warlley Alves who's 30, entering his prime. You would think it'd be the other way, like this is a young guy versus the guy that's been around the UFC, he's a little bit older now, but instead Warlley Alves guy just entering his prime, and Jeremiah Wells is the new guy coming in, but he's 4 years older. Alves would have the height, Wells would have a little bit of a reach. And what I see in this one, I just think Wells, he has power, he has explosiveness, he's a dog, he'll go out there and fight, but I think he plays right into Warlley Alves' game. He's not a guy that's going to be technical and, take Warlley Alves late and, just mix up, be sharp, be clean. He's going to be definitely be sloppy offensively and defensively. And that's going to allow for Warlley Alves to really just pick his shots and be able to dissect them and pick them apart out there. And find those clean shots. Warlley Alves' history of losses have been by guys that's going to be either pressure him and be clean and technical in front of him, and just wear him down, walk him down, wear him out. Or guys that just, at least decent technique and just constant output. And Jeremiah Wells is just like a herky-jerky, explosive fighter. That's not a style that causes Alves issues. These unorthodox, little weird guys aren't his weakness. So he does have a decent puncher chance at best, but I think Warlley Alves is just the better fighter overall in every single area. Jiu-jitsu, wrestling, striking. And I just think he goes out there, fills him out, lands counters, put him on his back foot, digs into his body, and just really start to do what people do to him. Start to walk him down, pick him apart, and then start to wear him down and take advantage of his aggressiveness, make him pay for it, and be able to put him out in the second round. So in this one, I have Warlley Alves via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the welterweight division, Michel Prazeres versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. And I see this one right here is Michel Prazeres is a tough fighter and good fighter, good cop, good all that stuff. But dude's 39, he's 5'6" versus Shavkat Rakhmonov, who's 6'1" and 13 years younger, 26 versus a 39-year-old, so 13 years younger, much longer reach, much taller, solid wrestling defense. So I think he'll control whether this fight goes to the ground or not with his sambo background, his different decorated backgrounds in grappling and striking, to be able to keep this fight on the feet or choose to take it to the ground. I don't think he's going to try to mix it to the ground too much. Maybe just to, throw off Prazeres. He come in with these big overhands, just throw him off balance and put him on his back. But other than that, I see Shavkat Rakhmonov just putting on a statement performance and go out there, just picking apart Prazeres on the feet, being long, making him feel that length, making him feel that reach, making him feel that skill, making him feel that the counters, and just have Prazeres overthinking, overestimating, and just getting dug into. And that second round is worn down from, just mentally and physically battered and bruised. And then Shavkat Rakhmonov just goes in there, gets the finish in that second round. So in this one, I have Shavkat Rakhmonov via second round TKO. Now to our next fight we have in the light heavyweight division, Danilo Marques versus Kennedy Nzechukwu. And how I see this one right here is, I think Nzechukwu, even though you might look at the Paul Craig fight and see he got submitted, or maybe look at some other fight and some other fight, but really when I look at his history, Matter of fact, even the Stoliarenko fight, he hasn't really spent too much time on the bottom, and grappling hasn't been an issue where he has a weak takedown defense or poor grappling. His grappling is not poor. His takedown defense is pretty solid. In the Stoliarenko fight, a pretty stocky, solid, strong wrestler fighting, relatively new up and comer type fighter in Nzechukwu. And I think Stoliarenko come down like 3 times, but I think combined it was only like 30 seconds or less from 3 takedowns. So as soon as you go, and then watching the fight, as soon as he gets taken down, right back up. Or as soon as the takedown initiated, defends well, gets taken down, right back up. And when I look at Danilo Marques, probably the best overall grappler, or one if not 2 of the best overall grapplers he has fought in his MMA career. I feel like Marques is going to try to take it to the ground, and Nzechukwu will be able to defend well. Yes, there's a concern there, but when we look at the Paul Craig fight, he got submitted when he had the top position. It wasn't the case on the bottom position. And I feel like in this case, I haven't really seen Danilo Marques off his back. And also, I think Nzechukwu will be more privy to submission attempts and not try to engage you with that too much, and it's more so keep this a striking match. Use his length, well, at least his reach. I think Marques is actually tall at 6'6", and Nzechukwu is 6'5", but he had like an 83-inch reach versus a 77-inch reach. But yeah, use that reach, not the height, use the reach, use his legs, use all of that against Danilo Marques. Higher output, be the stuff takedowns, and make Marques pay. Marques gonna try to go for these takedowns and try to wear him down and try to get take his back, submit him, or this control position to a decision victory like he has been doing in the past couple fights, or at least a good bit of fights. And I feel like Nzechukwu will be able to address the grappling, stuff the takedowns, and just put a volume on him and make him work for the takedowns, and then make him have to put him on defense on the feet, and just make him have to fight a very tiring pace that Nzechukwu will, that will benefit Nzechukwu, wear out Marques over the course of 2 rounds, a very tiring type fight, and then in the 3rd round, put away a tired Marques and get that 3rd round stoppage. So in this one, I have Kennedy Nzechukwu via 3rd round TKO. Now to our next fight, we have our first fight on the main card in the lightweight division, Renato Moicano versus Jai Herbert. So how I see this fight right here, Moicano versus Herbert. I think Herbert is the better striker. I think Moicano is the better grappler. Overall, I think Moicano is the better fighter. I feel like Herbert showed a little bit of flaws in his grappling against Trinaldo. I think Moicano is a more technical grappler. And I feel like he get those similar takedowns that Trinaldo got. Maybe he's definitely not as strong as Trinaldo, but I feel like he could definitely score some takedowns on Herbert. And on the feet, Herbert's style, like he's the better striker, but he's not a guy that's necessarily going to, walk Moicano down like the people that have had success in striking against Moicano. When you look at the common theme against people that have had success with Moicano striking, it's been heavy-handed, forward pressuring styles, or at least approaches. And Herbert is a fighter that's like to be slick, likes to be clean, likes to be on the back foot a lot, fight from a distance, fight long, and snipe and find shots. Yes, he could probably find shots, but those shots won't present themselves as much if you're not putting Moicano on the back with heavy pressure in power shots like Aldo did, or even Ortega, or Chan Sung Jung, or Rafael Fiziev. And not like I said, Herbert is a solid striker. I definitely think he's a better striker. Do I think he's the better striker by a mile? I don't think so. Is he the best striker that Moicano has fought? I don't think so either. I feel like this is gonna be a case of where striking will be relatively even. Herbert's not gonna be doing the approach that he needs to do to get a victory over Moicano, let alone a stoppage, let alone a victory over Moicano. I think it's gonna be a case where striking will be close, and Moicano's gonna actually be the person on the front foot and be able to score takedown, hold Herbert against the cage, wear him down a little bit, take away some of that pop out of his punches, and just trying to wall and stall him a little bit, and then work for takedowns, just wear him out, take some pop punches, and maybe start getting some of those center of the cage takedowns, or just drag him down, try to drag him down from the cage, either center of the cage or on the cage. Either way, work for takedowns, mixing in the full game, trying to take his back, trying to hop on his back, ride like a backpack, and just wear on Herbert. And whether he gets submission or not, that's all factoring in for control time for Moicano. That's Moicano winning, and then Herbert has to respond to that. I think over the course of the fight, that's going to wear Herbert down. He's going to try to, make an adjustment. He's going to try to make something happen to win this fight, in a fight that he's going to be losing just from that control time, really. And in that urgency, he's going to make a mistake, and Moicano's going to be able to latch into submission and tap him out. And I think that happens early on in the 3rd round. So in this one, I have Renato Moicano via 3rd round submission. Now to our next fight, we have in the welterweight division, Tim Means versus Nicholas Dalby. Or Nicholas Dalby versus Tim Means. That's what it is. But either way, it's the same exact fight. But yeah, Dalby versus Tim Means. How I see this fight is, Tim Means is a very solid fighter. very experienced, good everywhere, but he does have his flaws in place. Like his wrestling at lightweight was definitely flawed. Even at welterweight was flawed. But going to his last fight, he did a lot of working on that, went back to that, and padded it out, and it looked good, and he was able to use it actually to get a victory over Laureano Staropoli. But also in that fight, he showed again, where his weaknesses is. Like he's a very dangerous fighter on a straight line, but when you start to cut angles on him, you start to see why he has consistently been in the same spot, or why he has not been able to be a guy that's, in that top 10, top 15, or really even ranked really, and why he always has, fallen short and been, a solid fighter, this beast of a fighter to many people, especially up and coming fighters or falling down fighters. But he himself can never be a top 15, top 10 fighter, or a guy that's in any talks of being anywhere near breathing on the belt. And that's because he's not good when you start to take angles on him. And Dalby will do that. I think Dalby will be able to mix some angles on him. He got good footwork. He's very slick, experienced, tricky out there. And he's not going to allow Tim Means to fight him on a straight line. He's going to cut angles, be the final shots over the top, final shots around the corner, around the guard, and from weird angles. And then also from there, he's going to be able to find takedowns from those different angles. So really in this one, I think Dalby is going to fight a smart tactical fight, mix up the angles, mix up the takedowns, mix up the looks, and be able to... I still see this as still a tight matchup and a tight fight, but I just see Dalby being able to grind out a decision over Tim Means just by being more versatile, being more crafty, and definitely being better footwork and better at angles and mixing it up from different, like I said, not just on a straight line, from different angles, and grind out a decision over Tim Means. So in this one, I have Nicholas Dalby via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the featherweight division, Andre Fili versus Daniel Pineda. And how I see this fight right here is, I think Pineda is a solid fighter, but you also gotta, well, let's go back on his history a little bit. Back in the day, Pineda came to UFC, was a decent looking prospect, had a little bit of hope on him. I mean, he had like a little bit of hype around him, and then like it just did not pan out. He lost a couple fights, got knocked out, I think a couple times. I think he had one or two good performances, and then was out of the UFC. I mean, he had those one or two good performances in between the losses, but either way, again, it just didn't pan out. And then he was out of the UFC, signed his ticket, and was gone. And then years later, he's made his way back in the UFC. But really, as far as his path, as far as when he recently got back to the UFC, it's been checker. Like, with like 2 or 3 losses, 3 wins that really all turned to no contest because he tested positive for PEDs. But where I'm going with this, either way, it's like, you can look at the Herbert Burns fight and you can look at his wins in PFL. Like his PFL wins are highly questionable because of, they're not even wins no more. They're no contests, but those successes are highly questionable now. Are questionable. They're not without question. But to get to the point where he's at now, he's been able to get that win over Herbert Burns. PEDs are not, where they will show up later on or not, and that would turn to no contest in the future as well. I feel like in that fight against Herbert Burns, he won because of experience. Like, he's a well-rounded fighter. He got solid jiu-jitsu of his own. He's big and strong. And like I said, experience. He got a good strike. I think overall, the more well-rounded fighter and the more experienced fighter, the more, gray on his whiskers. And in that fight, he took advantage of a younger guy who just trying to use his youth and use his strength. And, a little bit overconfident in his grappling. And in that fight, he was able to put him in positions that are typically not dangerous position or bad position in BJJ, but in MMA is a whole different story. And was able to take advantage of a young guy and win a position. But going against Fili, I feel like Fili is the more technical striker, the better striker, the more proven striker, especially considering that hopefully Pineda is not taking PEDs, but we're just going to predict all base we've seen. And longer, not as big as Pineda, but longer, good reach, better striking, good jab, good kicks, good control of range. Can be a little bit of a slow starter. But I feel like Fili, stylistically wise, has some good takedown defense, so he could keep this fight on the feet and won't be too scared to take it to the ground. Submission defense is pretty solid overall, solid grappler, solid fighter. And like I said, I think he can address the grappling of Pineda, whether he wants to stuff it or engage in it. I think he'll do well in both of those exchanges. Then on the feet, I just think he's simply the better striker, and I think he'll be able to outstrike Pineda and outposition Pineda and win a close decision over Pineda. So in this one, I have Andre Fili via decision. Now to our next fight, we have in the bantamweight division, Ronnie Barcelos versus Timur Valiev. And now I see this one right here. You got 2 real deal solid killers in this division. probably will be in the title picture very, very soon. Win or loss for either of these guys, I could see them in the title picture within this, yeah, within even in this year, they could be in the title picture. That's how dangerous these guys are. These guys are both beasts and could definitely be in the title picture very much within this year, win or loss. I mean, maybe a loss they'll have to be early 2022, but even that, I feel like they both could be in the title picture in 2021, especially if they're just active enough. But with this one, I feel like Timur Valiev, he presents an interesting style, very active, a lot of versatility, throws a lot of output from a lot of different angles, and he just really just a randomizer on the feet. Like he just will throw anything out there at a very high pace and just chain different things together, have interesting footwork as well, like those people like Frankie Edgar and Eddie Alves, but his footwork is even more interesting than theirs, and like even more unorthodox. He just mixes his striking and his wrestling and all that stuff together. He's just very, frustrating fighter to fight, for real. But going against Ronnie Barcelos will be able to, put a wall and put a stop to a lot of what he does. Ronnie Barcelos will be able to wrestle, address his wrestling very well, which will, be able to throw off, make him have to think a little bit more to find success in the fight, or to be able to chain his stuff together. Anytime you start thinking, it starts to take away from you as a fighter, like, because when you go out there, you're supposed to be flow. But you got a guy like Barcelos in there who can, match you in just about every single area, if not beat you, best you, like, matter of fact, will best you in a lot of these areas. It's caused you to think more, and you can't be as creative, you can't be as flow as much, you can't put as much output out there, especially when you got put on the back foot. I feel like Barcelos is the heavier hitter, the better striker, the better inside fighter, and that will force Valiev to fight on his back foot. And then with Barcelos' wrestling background and his jiu-jitsu background, Valiev not gonna want to go there as much. Especially if Barcelos starts to threaten with submissions or put him on the back. As a matter of fact, I feel like that's going to be the case. I feel like Valiev going to try to have some wrestling, might have some limited success, but really going to be the case that Barcelos is going to put him on the back foot, but land clean counters, buzz him, and have him freezing up a bit. Like, early on going to have a bit of success, but once Barcelos starts to land and put shots together and put him on the back foot, that's where it's going to start to change the course of the fight. And also when he starts to score takedowns on Valiev and starts to look for submission, look for position, even though Valiev's going to be responding well, it's going to be wearing him down, making him think more, and going to start to take away from his game. That I think over the course of the fight, that starts to wear down Valiev, makes him fight at a more labored pace, whereas Barcelos going to get stronger and start to see a withering fighter. I don't think he stops him, but I do think he starts to, the pressure, the power, starts to put, like I said, take away from Valiev, and allows Barcelos to, at that point, really just go away with the decision. I think it'll be close, maybe first and second. But that third round, I feel it's going to be a pretty dominant round for Barcelos. So in this one, I have Ronnie Barcelos via decision. Now to our co-main event, we have in the heavyweight division, Ovince St. Preux versus Tanner Boser. So we have OSP versus Tanner Boser in the heavyweight division. And how I see this fight really is, I feel like OSP is not the best fit for heavyweight, just to be honest. Like, he did hurt Ben Rothwell in that fight, but outside of that, he looked pretty awful against Ben Rothwell. I mean, maybe it's good that he went there and went to decision with Ben Rothwell, but that's not where you want to be. You can come up to division. Ben Rothwell was good and all and great and all and whatnot. Well, I'm not gonna say great, but a good, solid fighter, been around forever. But if you really want to be in this division, you got to beat Ben Rothwell and at least do better than that. Like, he didn't look super fast or anything. He didn't like he had such a great speed advantage or a great technical advantage. We come up from a smaller weight class, you're supposed to look much faster, supposed to look much more technical in the fight. Yes, a guy would look bigger than you and be stronger than you, but you supposed to at least look more technical, look this. But it did not look the case. Like, technique was similar, speed was similar, power was similar. That's the only good thing he could say. Power was similar between Ben Rothwell. I think Ben Rothwell might have hurt him a little bit, but as far as one-punch power, proves like he had the better one-punch power in that fight because he did sit down or make Ben Rothwell go to his knees and hands from a shot. But outside that, it don't like he got really much at his weight class, and his cardio has already been failing. We look at the second Nikita Krylov fight, looked okay with grappling, but got tired, and after a few grappling exchanges, and then from that point, Krylov just took advantage of a tired OSP, was able to tap him out with relative ease. Like, his cardio for wrestling and grappling and in general was not there no more. This man's pushing 40, and it's showing. And Tanner Boser is going to be the younger man, we think like 31, 32 versus like a 38, 39-year-old. Proves the truer heavyweight in Boser, the more experienced guy that has only fought at heavyweight. I think it's going to be a case of where Boser's actually still be faster than OSP, even though he's supposed to be the former light heavyweight. Boser's the younger fighter, and he's already at least not the biggest heavyweight, but a heavyweight that's still a true heavyweight, but on a slimmer side, a faster heavyweight. So I feel like Boser will actually be the fastest fighter in this fight. the more technical fighter in this fight. OSP can have like I say, he can have advantage in grappling and wrestling and whatnot, but you can't really enforce it consistently over 3 rounds. Like maybe you could hope to get a quick submission or something, but you can't carry that over 3 rounds, and you don't get a submission to be able to do that for 3 rounds to grind out a decision or just dominate or something. As far as in the grappling, for 3 rounds, it's hard to pick you. And especially when you're skidding and you're pushing forward and you're coming up to a weight class and you're already 0-1 in this weight class, about to be 0-2. I feel like Boser's gonna be confident enough to at least be able to defend in wrestling, or at least be able to survive a round on bottom or some time on bottom. And just be on the feet, angle, land kicks, and not be there in front of OSP to be hit with these big slappy punches or the occasional down the pipe shots that OSP might throw. A guy that typically throws looping, wide, swinging, window opening shots. But I feel like Boser will be able to stick, move, and not be in front of OSP, be able to strike him and outwork him and just beat him to a clean, smart, technical decision. So in this one, I have Tanner Boser via decision. Now to our main event, we have in the heavyweight division, Gane versus Alexander Volkov. And how I see this fight right here is, you got two solid strikers right here. I feel like Gane is the, I say Gane or Gane. It's Gane versus Volkov, but I feel like Gane is the more well-rounded fighter. As a matter of fact, I think that's pretty obvious that he's the more well-rounded fighter, at least as far as offensively. We haven't really seen Volkov offensive with takedown. He got 1 or 2 takedowns against Curtis Blade when Curtis, caught him off guard. I think one when he was tired, but did nothing with those takedowns. Looked defensively great against Werdum. So like good defensive grappling and okay offensive grappling, but doesn't really use it much. So he kind of a fighter that just a striker. And there's nothing wrong with that, to be honest, but you always kind of want to favor the guy that's a little bit more well-rounded. Typically, some guys just, one-trick ponies, but they some real dangerous one-trick ponies. But in this case, you got two solid strikers, and the striking could very much even out. And you start to lean to what else do they have? What else do they do? And Alexander Volkov might be able to get a point takedown, like he might be able to score a takedown here and there, just to edge a fight, a close striking matchup. But outside that, he can't really take somebody down and control them for a large portion of a fight, or land heavy ground and pound, or he's not really no big dangerous threat there. Whereas Gane has some decent grappling, and we've seen him be able to get a submission on Dontel Mays and a couple other submissions in his career. Yes, it hasn't been against the highest level of competition, but it's been there, it's shown. And he looks, from technically wise, look at least decent. Doesn't look like no superstar in the BJJ, but definitely, as far as what the heavyweight division that is, it's compared to Volkov and some other these heavyweights, looks pretty solid. You go down middleweight, welterweight, lightweight, featherweight, and other stuff, like his grappling might be nothing to write home about, but in the heavyweight division, his grappling is a threat. As far as at least what we have seen. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's even more of a threat. But again, with these guys, we have not seen it to the greatest degree. We have seen Gane get 2 submission finishes, but yeah. But how I see this one right here, I feel like it's gonna be a fight where Gane is typically a guy that fights on the outside, but I feel like this fight where he's gonna pressure Volkov. Because Volkov's not a power striker. I mean, he might mix up a little bit, fill out the fight a little bit, but I feel like this fight where he's going to push Volkov on the back foot, because Volkov, not the greatest on his back foot, has a tendency to lift his chin up, but he's go on the back foot. And also Volkov is a guy that has a weird style. He's a heavyweight that's fast and not a power punch. He's a volume punching heavyweight. We have seen more in boxing, but MMA typically heavyweights are guys that have a lot of power and all have, you get touched, you can get knocked out. Volkov's not that case. He has lands a real clean shot to put you out. And other than that, it's a flurry of punches for him to put you down. So I feel like it's not really much for Gane to worry about on the inside with Volkov. He definitely has to respect it, and we have not really seen his inside game much. But he's definitely no slouch there. We have seen him mixing in there, and also we have seen him be able to put even guys like Rosenstruck on the back foot. Volkov's not going to be as easy to, freeze up as that, given that he has their height and reach. But I feel like Gane will be able to mix it up, use footwork. Even though he's still on a front foot, you still don't just walk on a straight line. You mix it up, you cut him off, you move on angles. And I feel like Gane will do that. He'll move on angles. He'll put Volkov on the back foot, be land kicks to the outside, kicks to the body, give Volkov different looks, come over top, freeze him up, push him on the back foot, and get him to feel that power early. Put Volkov on the back foot early, fill him out early. So maybe have Volkov on the front foot for a little bit, let the fight settle in a little bit. And then once he starts to establish range and establish what Volkov's working for, and then start to land his counter to push Volkov on the back foot, mix it up, make him feel the power early, and then from there on, start to control the fight from that point. I still see it as a close fight. Like, Volkov's not going to lay down. He's going to put out output. He's going to throw a lot of punches. He's going to put those shots out there. But I think Gane will be able to respond well to it. Will be landing jab, be the landing shots. I feel like he has a better head movement, better foot movement, so he'll be in better defense. Will be able to, as far as in exchanges, be able to win these exchanges, not just all throwing more shots or the better shots, but being the overall better package. Offense, defense, head movement, foot movement, beating Volkov with all the area, and then fighting with a focus to put him on that back foot and open up for these shots. I definitely can see a stoppage coming in this one, but I'm going to lean to a decision with Gane mixing in his full game, putting Volkov on the back foot, and then at points mixing in the clinch, mixing in takedowns, or at least the threat of takedowns, to again freeze the Volkov, give him different looks, but fight a smart tactical fight and beat Volkov to a pretty clean decision. Volkov will be in this fight, but I see Gane just having the better tools and implementing his tools better and just being the more well-rounded fighter, and that's going to guide him to his path to victory, and he will take advantage of these advantages that he does have. So in this one, I have Surreal Gane via decision. And that concludes my fight predictions for the 4-card of fights for UFC Fight Night, Gane versus Volkov. And as always, thanks for watching.